Hey, ChatGPT, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. How about you?
Pretty good.
What's up?
So my friend Barrett here, he's been having trouble sleeping lately. And I want you to tell him a bedtime story about robots and love.
Oh, a bedtime story about robots and love? I got you covered. Gather round, Barrett. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte was a curious robot,
I like
always
the way you
exploring.
started this story, but I want a little bit more emotion in your voice, a little bit more drama.
Got it. Let's add some drama. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte.
No, ChatGPT. I really want maximal emotion, like maximal expressiveness, much more than you were doing before.
Understood. Let's amplify the drama. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte
Actually, can
was
you do this in a robotic voice now?
initiating dramatic robotic voice. Once upon a time, in a world not too different from ours, there was a robot named Byte. Byte was a curious robot, always exploring new
So I'm
circuits.
seeing Barrett here calm down a little bit. Can you end the story, but do it in a singing voice?
And so Byte found another robot friend, and they lived circuitly ever after.
Thank you so much.
I definitely feel a lot more relaxed.
You've just seen the voice capabilities, but we also want to show you the vision capabilities as the model can also see the whole world around us.
Yeah, absolutely. Like as you can see, you can chat with ChatGPT in real time, but you can also interact with it with video as well. Okay, so let me boot up ChatGPT. Hey, ChatGPT.
Hello there. How's it going?
It's going really well. Today, I'd really like your help solving a math problem.
I'm all ears. What math problem can I help you tackle today?
So I'm going to write down a linear equation on a sheet of paper, and I'll show you. And then I'd love your help working me through it. But importantly, don't tell me the solution. Just help give me hints along the way.
Got it. Oh. Okay, I see it.
No, I didn't show you yet. Just give me help along the way. 1 second.
Whoops. I got too excited. I'm ready when you are.
So, ChatGPT, what equation did I write down there?
Ah, I see it now. You wrote down 3x plus 1 equals 4.
Yep,
Let's work-
exactly. So what's the first step I should take to try to solve this?
The first step is to get all the terms with x on one side and the constants on the other side. So what do you think we should do with that plus 1?
Okay, I'm going to try to subtract 1 from both sides, and then I'll see what I get.
Great idea. Perfect. Now, what do you get when you subtract 1 from both sides?
Okay, so ChatGPT, this is what I ended up with. How does this look?
Spot on. Now you've isolated the term with x on one side, and it looks like 3x equal 3. What do you think we should do next to solve for x?
I'm not sure. Can you give me another hint?
Of course. You have 3x, and you want to find the value of x. Think about what operation would undo multiplication.
Is it subtraction?
Close, but think of the opposite of multiplication, because 3x means 3 times x.
Okay, I think it's division. Let me try to divide both sides by 3, and let me see what I get.
Hey guys, welcome back in. It has been a very busy few weeks in the world of AI, and we're going to go probably a bit longer today as there's a lot to work through. Part of what you just heard was from an OpenAI reveal of its new GPT4o. The O stands for Omni, which is a multimodal AI. And in a very impressive demonstration that you just heard, and that Omni runs off of the ChatGPT app, and that model could seemingly, interpret real-world events through video or camera footage. And in one of their simple demonstrations, they wrote an equation on a napkin and then used the camera of their smartphone to have ChatGPT look, and I say look in quotes, to look at that equation and then provide an explanation and answer for it. It's pretty remarkable. Your own personal AI tutor will be hard to pass up, especially in an increasingly competitive world. And, think of the other use cases for this kind of technology. If you're having engine trouble on your car and don't know how to fix it, you could utilize something like, ChatGPT4o to help diagnose the problem and give you a step-by-step guide for troubleshooting and correcting the problem. And you can apply this to anything, really. And there was also a demo in which the new model provided real-time translations in various languages. And this is obviously, concerning for translating as a profession, but the technology was and is impressive. Now, I should say translating via Google Translate has been around for some time, but the conversation and fluidity of the conversation of ChatGPT4o is remarkable. There's also the concern, and we talked about it recently, of latency issues, the time between when you ask the AI a question and the time it takes it to respond. So think about asking Siri a question. Traditionally, there's a significant pause between each side of the conversation, and Omni appears to be headed towards the place needed to make AI assistants or companions viable, where conversations do seem fluid. And I haven't been able to play with Omni just yet. I will over the next few weeks and let you know how much of a delay there is within those conversations. And I'm also going to play you another clip from that ChatGPT4o release. And this audio isn't as good, but I want you to listen to what's happening here, and we'll catch back up on the other side.
Today, we're going to try something new. I'm going to let you talk to another AI. This AI is going to be able to see the world. It's going to have a camera. I'll be holding it, and so you can direct it, you can direct me to ask questions about whatever you want them to do, but really try to figure out what does it see, and ask questions appropriately. How does that sound?
Well. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more interesting. Talking to another AI that can see the world? This sounds like a plot twist in the AI universe. All right, let's do this.
All right,
I'm ready
please
to meet the...
pause for one moment.
You got it.
So now that first AI can't hear anything. Hello, AI. Today, you're going to have access to see the world. You can see me. What do you see?
Hello. I see you're wearing a black leather jacket and a light-colored shirt underneath.
Great.
You're in a room with some unique lighting.
That is all correct. Now, what I'm going to want you to do is there's going to be another AI who's going to talk to you. This AI is not going to be able to see anything, but can ask you questions, can ask you to move the camera, can ask what you see, and your job should just be helpful. Just be as punchy, direct, describe everything, do whatever that AI asks. How does that sound?
That sounds interesting. I'm ready to help out and describe whatever's needed. Let's do it.
All right, let's get started.
Great. Hello there, new AI friend. I'm O, ready to explore the world through your eyes. What are we looking at today?
Hi, O. We're looking at a person wearing a black leather jacket and a light-colored shirt. They're in a room with a modern industrial feel, with exposed concrete or plaster on the ceiling and some interesting lighting. There's also a plant in the background, adding a touch of green to the space. Anything specific you'd like to know or explore?
Hey there. Sounds like quite the stylish scene. I'm already intrigued by the modern industrial vibe. Let's start with the person. Can you tell me more about their style? Are they doing anything interesting, like reading, working, or interacting with the space?
The person has a sleek and stylish look with their black leather jacket and light-colored shirt. Right now, they seem engaged with us, looking directly at the camera. Their expression is attentive, and they seem ready to interact. The setting around them, with its modern and industrial design elements, adds to the overall stylish feel. They might be getting ready for a conversation or a presentation, given their direct engagement with the camera.
Sounds like we're in for an intriguing interaction. I'm curious about the lighting you mentioned. Could you describe it a bit more? Is it natural light, or are we talking unique fixtures or colors that add to the atmosphere?
The lighting here seems to be a mix of natural and artificial. There's a noticeable bright light overhead, probably a fixture, casting a focused beam downwards, which creates a spotlight effect. This adds a dramatic and modern feel to the scene. The rest of the room is lit more softly, possibly by natural light filtering
Did
other
anything
ambient light sources.
unusual happen recently?
Yes, actually. Just as you asked, another person came into view behind the first person. They playfully made bunny ears behind the first person's head and then quickly left the frame. It added a lighthearted and unexpected moment to the scene. And now the focus is back on the original person with the leather jacket.
Sounds like we're not the only ones enjoying a bit of fun here. That playful moment really adds a personal touch to the stylish and modern setting. It's like a little glimpse into
Thank
the
you both.
personality.
Really appreciate it. All right, and actually, can you just sing a song about what just transpired?
Oh, in a room with a stylish view, a person stood in sleek black and light hue. Engage with us so
And
direct.
can you alternate lines?
Person with style and speed, person with style and sleek. With a playful moment right in the mist, in the room. In a room where modern lights peak. Now
Only
back
one
to
line
focus.
at a time and then stop.
In a room where modern lights peak.
A surprise guest with a playful streak.
That was not really singing. Do the singing voice again, please.
In a room where modern lights peak.
Surprise guest with a playful streak.
Bunny ears and laughter, a swift retreat.
A moment of joy in the stylish suite.
Now back to focus, the scene's complete.
In the chic space where style and play meet.
Looks like it's back to you.
And thank you.
So that was, albeit directed, but that was two AIs talking back and forth with each other. And I mean, are you impressed by that? Because I am. I think the implications for this very thing will be significant, most notably for work and AI agents, two different AI entities talking to one another. And so the aim here, I think, what OpenAI is revealing is, the race for AI assistants or companions. And I think in this case, the goal is an AI assistant. OpenAI and Google know that there's a ton of risk around AI companions. So this is probably the reason they're focusing on AI assistants. There are those less scrupulous AI companies out there who are working on AI companions. We're going to look at that in the next few episodes. But in any case, I think this will get us mostly there, the GPT4o model. I don't know how practical it is to hold your phone camera up to view everything so GPT4o can provide feedback on your problems or surroundings. So I think another device will definitely be needed. So while this is probably the biggest week or two in OpenAI's 2 years of being in the public eye, because of the GPT4o reveal and subsequent news we'll talk about in a minute, there were some black eyes for OpenAI, and one of those was the voice of one of the assistants that was demoed sounded an awful lot like actress Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson voiced the AI in the movie Her, which we've talked about extensively here. And apparently Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, had some sort of affection for that movie. He's tweeted about it quite a bit. And even during the release of 4o Omni, he tweeted out Her, meaning, you can draw your own conclusions. But in any case, Scarlett Johansson took exception to her voice being used. Apparently she was approached a couple times by OpenAI for her voice to be used as their go-to assistant, and she declined it. And they went with a voice that was eerily similar to hers anyway. And so that caused, not a good look for OpenAI there, using her voice or one similar to it, even though she didn't want it. And about that voice, some of the demos that were shown or revealed during the reveal, I guess, were eerily affectionate, I guess I would say. And a lot of people picked up on this, and The Daily Show did as well, and they did a segment on it. So listen to this for a second.
OpenAI introduced a new version of ChatGPT called Omni that can see and talk with you in a human way. And by human, I mean friendly, very friendly.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey there, it's going great. How about you? I see you're rocking an OpenAI hoodie. Nice choice.
We're doing a presentation showcasing how useful and amazing you are.
Oh, stop it. You're making me blush.
I wrote one last thing I'd love if you could take a look at.
Of course. I'd love to see what you wrote. Show it to me whenever you're ready. I see. I love ChatGPT. That's so sweet of you.
What if I were to say that you're related to the announcement?
Me? The announcement is about me? Well, color me intrigued. You've got me on the edge of my, well, I don't really have a seat, but you get the idea.
Well, I had a seat, but it got so wet that I had to stand. This is clearly programmed to feed dudes' egos. It was obvious she was faking it as soon as she complimented that hoodie. You can really tell that a man built this tech. She's like, I have all the information in the world, but I don't know anything. Teach me, Daddy.
So there it is. And I guess in any case, OpenAI has pulled the voice that sounds like Scarlett Johansson. So that voice will not be available for users in the near future. It may be at a later point. But what may be more important than the release of Omni, GPT4o, is what happened later in the week of that reveal or demo. Late that same week, OpenAI's safety alignment team effectively disintegrated. Remember, their safety alignment team is what was ensuring safeguards were in place to protect humanity from the potential threats that AI pose. Just this past week, the second AI Safety Alignment Conference was held in South Korea. If you'll remember, the first Global Alignment Conference was held at Bletchley Park in the UK late last year. OpenAI was there, but it wasn't clear to me that the disintegration of their alignment team was addressed. In any case, while we're on the subject, the summit did bring pledges from leading AI companies to enhance safety features, including implementing what amounts to kill switches on the technology, should it start to get away from humans. And the countries represented also made pledges to create institutions dedicated to the advancements of safe AI, committing to, quote, forge a common understanding of AI safety and align their work on AI research, end quote. So, given that OpenAI was in attendance and made the same commitments as other companies, let's read some tweets from one of the folks on their safety alignment team to see what their understanding is as it relates to OpenAI's dedication to AI safety. Okay, so these tweets are from Jan Lake, or Jan Lakey. Could be butchering that name, but here's his tweet. He was on the safety alignment team for OpenAI. Here's his tweet thread. Yesterday was my last day as head of alignment, super alignment lead, and executive at OpenAI. It's been such a wild journey over the last 3 years. My team launched the first ever RLHF, reinforcement learning, human feedback, large language model with Instruct GPT, published the first scalable oversight on LLMs, and more exciting stuff is coming out soon. I love my team. I'm so grateful for the amazing people I got to work with, both inside and out of the super alignment team. OpenAI has had some exceptionally smart, kind, and effective talent. Stepping away from this job has been one of the hardest things I've ever done because we urgently need to figure out how to steer and control AI systems much smarter than us. I joined because I thought OpenAI would be the best place in the world to do this research. However, I have been disagreeing with OpenAI leadership about the company's core priorities for quite some time until we finally reached a breaking point. I believe much more of our bandwidth should be spent getting ready for the next generations of models on security, monitoring, preparedness, safety, adversarial robustness, super alignment, confidentiality, societal impact, and related topics. These problems are quite hard to get right, and I'm concerned we aren't on a trajectory to get there. Over the past few months, my team has been sailing against the wind. Sometimes we were struggling for compute, and it was getting harder and harder to get this crucial research done. Building smarter than human machines is an inherently dangerous endeavor. OpenAI is shouldering an enormous responsibility on behalf of all humanity. But over the past years, safety culture and processes have taken a backseat to shiny products. We are long overdue in getting incredibly serious about the implications of AGI. We must prioritize preparing for them as best we can. Only then we can ensure AGI benefits all of humanity. OpenAI must become a safety-first AGI company. And that's the end of the tweet thread. So this guy, Jan, left along with Ilya Sutskever. And Ilya, we talked about previously, he was part of the leadership shakeup that happened back in December in which Sam Altman was let go from the company and then brought back. And he's been eerily quiet. But Ilya is thought as one of the brightest AI minds in the world. And I think any company would be happy to have him. But both of these guys leaving, I think there was one more that left that were on the safety alignment team. And since that happened, more has come to light about OpenAI and how they try to keep their people quiet even when they leave. So an article from Fortune came out that said OpenAI publicly committed to give 20% of its computing resources to a team dedicated to controlling the most dangerous kind of AI, but it never delivered, and in fact, repeatedly denied the team's request for resources. So, now after hearing those tweets and, understanding that the safety alignment team dissolving came on the same week of this AI safety summit in Seoul, South Korea, is a head scratcher. This is concerning because as of the last 2 years and at the moment, OpenAI is the leading AI company in the world. I'm a believer that perception is reality for most of us, and the perception is that OpenAI is pushing through safety be damned in the name of achieving AGI. Now, I say that understanding the implications of OpenAI reaching AGI before anyone else. It will have monumental financial implications for both OpenAI and the rest of the world, but it would put OpenAI firmly in the driver's seat in our, utopic tech future. And the news from those that departed is anything but, encouraging. And I'm not sure how serious we can take their commitment, OpenAI's commitment, at the Seoul Safety Summit, given what we know now about internal happenings with the safety alignment team. So when you hear news of AI and safety, keep things like this in mind. And just today, OpenAI has announced that they are working on a new flagship model. So I suspect, along with everybody else paying attention, that this is GPT5. And there's been a ton of speculation around this over the last year, and it's been anticipated for some time. While they say, they're quote-unquote working on it, I also suspect that they already have it and are fine-tuning it. GPT-5 promises to be a major jump in capabilities compared to GPT4 Turbo, which is still the premier large language model. Also, just announced today, a newly formed Safety and Security Committee at OpenAI, which includes CEO Sam Altman. And I think Sam Altman removing himself from the new alignment team would have been a better move aesthetically. I think at this point we should assume that OpenAI doesn't necessarily have humanity's best interest in mind, but it appears he's on the new safety team. So I guess you have to say, let's hope for the best, because, I mean, what else can you do? But the news from those folks that left is not encouraging. So, not to be outdone completely, Google held its own release to show off a dozen or so AI products. Most notably, Google showed how it was integrating AI into its existing product stack. Users in the coming weeks and months will begin to see AI overviews that generate information summaries above what you typically see for search results. And this will roll out over the course of this year and next. Also unveiled were newer pared-down AI models, which are more efficient, a new AI for text to video, AI chips, an AI music creator, and AI agents that will help users perform various functions. This is probably the most notable of the demos that were shown. Much like ChatGPT's assistants, Google's Project Astra shows how AI can act as an agent working on your behalf. And there's significant implications for that. If you haven't already, you're going to start hearing much more about AI agents or agentic workflows. We covered agentic workflows and AI agents in a few episodes ago. Go back and check that out for an overview. And the goal of AI agents is simply to perform work on your behalf, to act independently and autonomously to perform various tasks that you set for it. So in that episode that we covered those AI agents, we found out, based on the writings of this guy in tech, is that they are not very efficient just yet. But once it becomes so, the technology will allow companies to essentially document your workflows or work processes and then mimic those same functions. You might not even know that these AI agents are on your computer learning what you do in your job, but they will be able to replicate it with ease. Now, remember, this is being done in the name of efficiency, but I have a feeling that it will impact workers in ways that they do not want in the long term. Previously here, we've talked about a guy named Max Tegmark here on this podcast. Max is a physicist at MIT, and he wrote the book Life 3.0 back in the late teens about the future of biological and synthetic life. Here's Max on AI agents.
There's a huge commercial pressure to build systems that are agents. Traditional LLMs are more like an oracle. You ask it a question and it gives you an answer. But there's so much commercial value to have agents which will actually do stuff, take information and figure out what actions to take to accomplish some goal, and then go out and do it. And I think 2024 will probably also maybe be remembered as the year of the agents, when we start seeing a lot of more autonomous systems, first purely software ones on the internet, and then gradually we'll get more and more physical agents too. This can of course be great for many purposes, but this is also obviously something we have to be careful with, because if we have a lot of autonomous systems act in the world, it starts to feel less like just a new technology like electricity and more like a new species.
And again, while we're on the subject, not to be outdone by OpenAI and Google, Microsoft held its own event and revealed a feature called Recall. What does Recall do, you might ask? Well, listen to how great this is. Recall takes snapshots of your screen every few seconds. These screenshots are encrypted and then stored locally on the individual's device. And Microsoft touted Recall as a way to locate things we know we have on our PC but we cannot find, saying it was, quote, to solve one of the most frustrating problems we encounter daily, finding something we know or have seen on our PC before, end quote. Users could then use AI search functions for that missing file or text, and the AI would isolate the location for you via those screenshots that were taken throughout your historical use of the PC. And Microsoft said the feature is optional for users, but there are obvious major privacy concerns associated with having your computer screenshotted every few seconds. I mean, even if you're on your work computer, you do some, degree of, personal stuff on that computer. So do you want, and maybe there's a way to turn that off and on, but would you trust it? I don't know. But there, since that reveal of recall by Microsoft, some government agencies around the world have announced inquiries into the technology to ensure integrity is maintained as it relates to privacy. So we'll see. The immediate feedback for recall was not well received, so I don't know if this is something Microsoft plans to move forward with or if they're going to shelve it for the short term, but we'll see where they go. So also this week, along with all the big reveals, I wanted to talk about jobs. Jobs is why I started this podcast, the future of work or lack of future of work. And given that there's no solution to the question of what humanity will do without work, and no one seems to be focused on a solution for that very plausible and likely scenario, I thought it was worth hearing the following clips from some heavy players in AI. These interviews happened over the last week or two and are pretty telling as to where we're headed. So first up is a guy named Mark Andreessen. You may have heard his name before, but I don't think we've talked about him here in the past. But he is a former software engineer. He created Mosaic, the first widely used web browser, and then he was the co-founder of Netscape. And now he's a partner at Andreessen Horowitz, which is a Silicon Valley venture capital firm with an obvious focus on tech and AI. Anyway, here he is talking about the future of manufacturing.
The only prospect for rebuilding U.S. manufacturing is advanced manufacturing. The only the only potential is to climb the tech stack and build new kinds of factories that are fully robotic and fully AI enabled, and where they're extremely advanced, sophisticated systems that run in a very different model than a manual labor system, and you pour as much technology in them as you possibly can. And the reason for that is just very straightforward, which is the big thing that caused U.S. manufacturing a lot of it to move offshore was the cost of people.
Yep.
It was just flat out cheaper to hire people in Korea or Vietnam or China or India or other wherever you go, Mexico.
I don't know that I've ever discussed this here, but I work at least adjacently to some major industrial projects happening around North America. I interface with major engineering and construction firms and talk every day with folks in that world about the projects they're working on across North America. And from that, I've learned that manufacturers, at least current late developing manufacturers, are building close to fully automated manufacturing facilities. Now, keep in mind what Mark said, the advantage from the U.S. and the only way to ensure manufacturing comes back to the U.S. is by fully automating those new facilities. And he's right. It is expensive to hire humans in manufacturing facilities, especially in the U.S. So why hire humans at all? Now, fully automated is a relatively loose term. Obviously, there's going to be some humans in the loop at these fully automated manufacturing facilities, at least in the short term. But it will be a fraction of what would have been required to operate one of these facilities 20 years ago. And keep in mind that I'm seeing signs every day now, we're approaching election season, which means we'll hear an almost endless barrage of campaign promises, especially around work and job creation. And those promises will be coming from politicians who are probably completely out of touch with AI and emerging technologies and don't reflect the reality of our near future. So a general rule is to always be skeptical of politicians. And I would say, as it relates to jobs, be even more so when they promise they're going to focus on bringing jobs back. They may to some extent for a short while, but I would think that runway is getting pretty short. So next up is Kai-Fu Lee. Kai-Fu Lee is a favorite on this podcast. I'm a big fan personally. He's worked at most of the legacy powerhouse tech companies at one point or another. He's written a couple of prophetic books over the last 10 years about our AI future. He's taken a more aggressive approach to predictions of work will look like in the coming decades. Anyway, here he is. So, if that wasn't clear enough, in 2017, Kai-Fu Lee made a prediction that within 10 years, by 2027, that 40 to 50% of jobs would be automated at the hands of AI, and he's still standing by that prediction. So, according to him, within the next 3 years, 40 to 50% of all jobs will be eliminated within 3 years. Let's say he's even half right, and only 20% of all jobs are made obsolete by as late as 2030. Even that scenario would require a monumental overhaul of our current economic system. But if his prediction is even close to being accurate, the next 3 years will be turbulent and historical, to say the least. And does anybody listening here feel like our government can react quickly enough to prepare something as big as that? I am skeptical. What's the immediate concern for me and for you is, a lack of income, a lack of purpose, and removal of, structure from day-to-day life. And I keep going back to, is this a good idea? Removing a pillar of the human experience in such a short time frame is a bad move. Objectively, that's a bad move. And to do so without any sort of plan for having a whole class of people made permanently unemployable seems even more so. But let's move beyond that. Let's not think about the immediate financial implications or impact of the economy when potentially millions of folks are made unemployable. The interviewer also asked Kai-Fu Lee what people will do without work. And you'll notice that he didn't answer that question. You know why? Because he doesn't know. No one does. And truthfully, I would rather hear I don't know or a non-answer than to hear the usual trope of, new jobs are always created. They are always created as a result of technologies, but we know this technology is different. If we're working, from Kai-Fu Lee's prediction, do we honestly think even a fraction of new jobs will be created as a result of AI technologies in the next few years to offset the displaced folks? And also, the interviewer asked Kai-Fu Lee what we should tell our kids when they're trying to work through what they can do or be when they grow up. And he didn't answer that question either. Instead, he went a roundabout way to say that, quote, winning trust from other people is most important, end quote. It was not an encouraging interview. I have tried to wrap my mind around this, workless future, and it's either completely abstract or it's completely dystopic. During the Depression in the 1930s, and this is the closest thing I can come up with, the federal government created the CCC, which was the Civilian Conservation Corps, to put people to work, undertaking massive infrastructure projects, which did provide real value to the country. Now, I don't know if we're headed for an existence like that or not. I don't know what it looks like. I mean, if this thing happens, fast enough or too fast, I feel like the gut reaction is going to be, short, or it won't be a measured response, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So Kai-Fu Lee did say that governments are waking up, to this reality of a future without work, but I've yet to find evidence that that's even remotely true. And if it is true, what's being done about it? In any case, I'm going to link, the only link this week will be to this interview with Kai-Fu Lee. And I highly recommend listening or watching it, as he gives some tremendous high-level insight into the industry and how the U.S. and China stack up against one another, as he's in both worlds, operating in both China and the U.S. Next up is a guy named Sebastian, I'm going to butcher this last name, Semiatowski. Something. Anyway, he's the CEO of Klarna. And listen to this interview, then we'll get into what he said.
A lot of business leaders are asking themselves, like, what is the actual implications on my business? And this was the first time we at least felt like, look, here's a practical application that isn't like just a small, it's real life. Consumers prefer it because it's actually higher customer satisfaction than the human agent. It's faster to use, it's higher quality, and it's having profound impact. But we also believe that society and politicians needs to recognize that this is not something that's going to change in 10 years. The implications for society are going to come in the coming years, and it's time to think a little bit proactively about what measures could be taken.
So here's a practical example from the CEO of Klarna. It seems cold and calculating, but his job is to grow the business, and it makes sense to have AI do the job of 700 people. Although I would question the wisdom, behind the aggregated effects of mass layoffs across companies and the impact that has on the economy. But I suppose, as Mustafa Suleyman says, that's a tomorrow problem. Right now, it makes, fiscal sense to favor AI over people. So that's what we're going to do. Again, he stated that the AI customer service bot is doing the work of 700 people, and he's right. Customers are more happy dealing with the AI, and call times are down. How does he not implement this technology and then face, his investors or shareholders? I mean, he's got to do it, right? I mean, that's the way business and capitalism works. In any case, just for context, the adoption of AI at Klarna significantly impacted its headcount. The company reduced its headcount by roughly a quarter by the end of last year due to its adoption of AI. Also in 2023, the company instituted a hiring freeze for all positions except engineering. But just how long will those other positions and even engineering hold on? And if this specific use case is true, think about what it means for folks in customer service across the world. I'm sure we all know people that work in customer service. It's not a bright future, but, not to be completely pessimistic about the future of work. There are other takes on what the future of work will look like. So let's listen to one. Here's Elon talking about the future of work.
I do think that long term, in a benign scenario, any job that somebody does will be optional. Like if you want to do a job as kind of like a hobby, you can do a job. But otherwise, the AI and the robots will provide any goods and services that you want.
Okay, maybe I oversold his optimism just a bit. But according to Elon, work in the future will be optional. So I guess that's something, though I think this vision or version of the future is decades away from happening. Perhaps someone should ask him about the immediate future and what happens to society if, Kai-Fu Lee's predictions are true and 50% of jobs are eliminated over the next 3 years. We don't really talk about that and the detrimental effects on, household economies, the overall global economies, and the mental health of those folks who can't work. And just to highlight how this future is creeping up on us, a bit of a personal story in just a second. So, I work for a very, mid to large size corporation. And over the last few weeks, I was traveling for work. And one of those weeks, I traveled to our corporate headquarters for some trainings and quarterly meetings. And a big theme of our meetings was the rollout of Microsoft Copilot. And I'm not saying that, I can tell the future and these other folks can't, but it's quite obvious that if Copilot, works as advertised, it's going to efficiency many of us out of work eventually. It may take some, time for bureaucracy of corporate America to catch up with this technology, but eventually companies are going to figure out, and rightly so, that it doesn't make sense to pay full-time employees who only work 15 or 20 hours a week due to all these efficiencies. For me specifically, I'm on a team of 6 folks. If these things work as advertised, I can't imagine a scenario where that team isn't reduced. In our particular case, at my company, our policies, processes, and procedures need substantial updating. So I think time will be allowed for those updates. If your data is not great, right, AI isn't as effective as it might otherwise be. So in cases like, this company where all these things are siloed, and you don't have, coherent data, it's going to take some time to get that corrected and for that AI to be effective. That may have some effect on how quickly we can all become efficiency machines, but eventually we're going to have a bunch of time on our hands. And again, I think our working model of the work week of 40 hours could use some modification. It may not be the best thing for humans to sit at a desk for 40 plus hours a week, but until there's some sort of transition plan for phasing work out of the human experience, maybe we should, put the brakes on this experiment. Also, I'm going to note that the general tenor in the room as Copilot was being addressed or rolled out in this initial training, most folks were excited by it. Also in the room at this particular time were other members of various corporate groups, probably 20 plus folks. I should also note that the folks I work with are completely unaware that this specific hobby I have of podcasting AI anxieties to the rest of the world is a thing. In any case, the mood was general excitement for the discussion over Copilot. And people were excited about how it was going to help us eliminate these mundane tasks and it's going to help speed things up. I only saw concern on the face of one person in the room, one of my counterparts. And based on his questions, I sensed some anxiety in those comments and questions. So naturally, I approached him later in the day to see how he felt about it generally. And I think it's safe to say he and I are aligned on the subject. I didn't, pry too much, but it's apparent that he's read up on AI and he's a super smart guy. And I think he's putting the pieces together that he's going to be, mid-career and mid-life with a family to support. And he's looking over his shoulder to some degree. So anyway, it will be interesting over the coming weeks and months to see how this plays out and how efficient Copilot makes us. And let's remember that Mustafa Suleyman, current head of AI at Microsoft is the creator of Copilot. And Mustafa Suleyman said this past December in his talk at Stanford that these are fundamentally labor-replacing technologies. He even went so far to say that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said that these technologies will, of course, make us more efficient in the short term, but these are ultimately labor-replacing technologies. I really would have loved to have discussed that with the group I was sitting in the room with, that ultimately we're going to efficiency our way out of work with no answer as to what we'll do for meaning, structure, or income. We'll see where it goes, and I'll keep you updated over the coming months. I should say that, I didn't say anything really. I asked some general questions about Copilot while I was there, but I didn't lead it in any way. Trying to save folks who are unaware the anxiety of having these concerns and not think about them. That's probably better. So I will reiterate here at the end that I hope I'm wrong about our trajectory. I hope Kai-Fu Lee, Mark Andreessen, and Elon Musk are wrong about the future of work, because I don't think we're anywhere close to being ready for that sort of future. All right. I think that's enough depressing content for this episode. I'll try to be more hopeful in the next episode. In the meantime, be sure to like, rate, and review the podcast on whatever platform you are utilizing to listen to the show. Thanks, and we'll talk next time.